Today, let's talk about something that really gets on my nerves quite a bit when it comes to the 3D printing business, and it comes to just pretty much running a business that other people could get into. Something that kind of has, like, 3D printing does have a lower barrier of entry now that people are starting to be able to get printers at a lower price point. Printers are becoming much easier to use, and more people are realizing that there's other things you can do out there to make a little bit of extra money. Um, so, the other day on my TikTok, I posted a video. Someone said something like, enjoy the race to the bottom, when that race to the bottom thing is my huge pet peeve. Because really, people always tell me, "Oh, you make things like, I got this big old axolotl up here. These shelves are full of articulated items. They're full of, essentially they're toys. Um, they're not toys. They're articulated decor. But a lot of people associate them with a race to the bottom. So let's talk about it. What is the race to the bottom? Are you in the race to the bottom? Am I in the race to the bottom? Is everybody in the race to the bottom? Or are some people just underselling themselves? Most people don't know they're underselling themselves. Or if someone is undercutting you, there's always going to be someone that's undercutting you. That's literally business. Um, so what I'm going to say, what I say and what I said to this guy on my TikTok is, people may be in that race to the bottom, but I'm not participating in that race because I have costs. I have this new shop that I started. I have insurance. I run my business as a full LLC, fully insured. Um, I've got lights. I've got internet. I've got rent. I've got maintenance at the place that I rent. I've got booth fees to set up. I've got percentages that I give to stores that I do consignment at. I have wholesale stores that you're not making full margin when you sell wholesale. Yes, you may be selling more, but you're still not making full profit when you're selling at wholesale. Um, there's so many things that go into this, and this is why I don't participate in the race to the bottom. I hope you don't participate in the race to the bottom. Don't worry about what everyone else is selling everything for. Worry about your costs, your bottom line, your numbers, and literally just sell stuff for what the market can bear. There's no reason to oversell everything that you have and sell everything for tons of money and rip off every single person you ever see. But you also, you know, your time is worth money. Um, there's no reason why you shouldn't be getting paid for your time. A lot of times people are like, "Oh, well, whatever. I just do it in my spare time." There's no such thing as spare time. Time is time. Time is precious. Every single minute that you are alive, it's precious. And you seriously are like, time, life isn't forever. So you got to think about it. Every single minute you're alive, every single minute you're working, every single minute you're doing something to try to better yourself, it needs to be incorporated into the costs of everything that you're doing, because time isn't free. Craft fair. It was called Strawberry Fest. It was a big festival at a farm. Really cool event. Always awesome customers there. Awesome people. It's usually busy. Beginning of the day all the way to the end of the day. Person comes into my booth. She sees. Everybody talks to me about this axolotl. It's huge. It's almost 3 feet. Um, and I have it because people come into the booth and they're always like, "Hey, how long did that take to print? How long did that take to print?" And you know, that's something that's important. Completely off topic, super important though. If you're selling stuff and you're selling at markets, conventions, anywhere that you're selling, you need something that's going to get people in your booth. And it doesn't matter what it is. And realistically, nowadays, getting someone in your booth isn't enough. You need to get someone in your booth and you need to get a conversation started. So if you're sitting in your booth and this is you, if I have this big axolotl up here and this is me. Hey, how's it going? That's not going to do anything. You're going to make no money. No one's going to buy anything from you. You're going to look like a loser and everyone's going to hate you. You're not going to get invited back anywhere because you're boring and everyone doesn't want you there. Realistically, this is how it should go. You're standing. Never sit on your phone at anything. Everyone will walk past you. Your booth will look boring. You look boring. No one wants to talk to someone who doesn't look like they want to be there. Everyone wants to talk to someone who seems to be enjoying their life and enjoying the event that they're at. But anyways, people come in, always ask me, hey, how long did that take to print? Boom, conversation started. Not only does that now have a conversation showing that the customer's engaged, asking you, hey, they're interested in what you're making. Now you're talking to them about something that you made. Now, because so many people are starting to, I see this at every event I go to. There's the Temu resellers, the Amazon resellers. There's people who they don't know anything about anything, and they're just selling one wall silk shiny pieces of crap, and they're slanging them out for the same amount that other people are selling good stuff for. But what this does is when you have big items that you have printed and you have fun, interesting things in your booth, people are going to know that you made it because you can talk about it. Learn your printers. Learn everything about everything. Start talking to people about the differences between prints, why your stuff is better. Because if your stuff isn't better, like actually isn't top tier, up there, way better than the Amazon or the Temu or the garbage people out there selling garbage, you shouldn't be there either. Sorry, but that's the truth. And you should be talking about the different types of filaments there are, the different types of settings there are. The people who are in the booth aren't going to really understand or know anything that you're talking about. But they're going to think that you do, and they're going to know that you are actually involved. And people who go to craft fairs, people go to vendor events, people go to farmers markets, people who shop local, that last part that I said, shop local, they want to buy from someone from their area that enjoys what they do, and they want to buy from someone that they know, that they can talk to, that they can see grow, that they can help in the community. That's the biggest thing. People want to buy from people who care about what they're doing. It doesn't matter what you're making. It doesn't matter any of whatever. People want to buy from people in their community that are making something that they care about, and they can show that as they're making it, there was love and care put into it. That's huge. But back to the race to the bottom. I created a website with the help of some AIs out there. I'm going to admit it. I used Claude, I used Lovable, I used ChatGPT, I used my background in HTML, I used my background in JavaScript. I made my own Shopify website before there was AI stuff. I knew a little bit about the .json stuff. I've got a lot of different things going into this website, but it's called sliceprice3d.com. And what SlicePrice3D does is has a calculator. That calculator breaks everything down. Really, it puts a lot of stuff into these calculators that a lot of these online, I'm the best 3D print calculator, a lot of these calculators don't put in anything, because I'll tell you right now, I've gone on over probably 100 different websites looking at calculators, comparing what I make and what everyone else makes, because I wanted to know that if I'm making a website that has anything in it and has any pricing tool that's going to be used for people, I wanted to know that mine did what others didn't, because I didn't want to just make another wheel. One thing that I've noticed, you're a small business owner. You are making money as a small business. You're making profits. You're making something. Most people, and a lot of people who get into this, don't realize or even know that you have to pay income tax on that money still. At the end of the year, it ends up being about 30% is taxed. So if you're working on a low margin and you're not accounting for the tax that you're going to have to pay, not on your sales tax, because sales tax is one thing that you charge a customer. Let's say you buy something for $10, ends up being $10.80 after tax. Customer hands you $10.80, or you incorporate that 80 cents into your price. And then you're paying it technically out of the 10, you're only getting $9.20. But this is not that. At the end of the year, if you bought that thing that's $10, the customer has paid the 80 cents tax on it. But then you have to pay income tax on that. 30%. So now your $10 comes down to $7. So if you're only making $2 profit because you're involved in this race to the bottom, you now did all this work for whatever you're doing, and you took your thing that you were like, oh, this costs me $5 in filament. I'm going to sell it for 10. You didn't account for your machine wear and tear. You didn't account for your supplies. You didn't account for your overhead. You didn't account for your filament buff or your failures. You didn't account for your time, your labor. But let's just say you were like, it cost me $5 in filament. I'm going to charge $10. That $10 is now $7. So you did all this work for $2. Do you want to do that? Or should you incorporate a 30%? Or I don't do a 30% because I don't really do the full amount that it's going to be as part of my landed cost. So I end up putting a tax reserve in my filament or in my my landed cost of around 15%, knowing that I'm going to have to do it because it's not, I'm trying to think of how to word this. It's because at the end of the year, you're going to have your profits, you're going to have your business expenses, you're going to have things out. And what I've found over my past 5 years or so doing this, is that if I do a 15% tax reserve built into my landed cost, it ends up being pretty good right there at the end. But I at least account for something, where most people account for nothing. And when you talk to people about it, most people don't even know that it's real. It doesn't even, so realistically, when you look at anything, you start with this slice price 3D. You start with this calculator. There's basically a $1.49 pre-built into my landed cost if you haven't even done anything yet. But that's just base rate of a labor of, let's say, 2 minutes taking something off your build plate. Because you take something off your build plate, you crack the build plate, you take the parts off, you sort them, you separate them, you got your torch, you get rid of the little whiskers. It's either 2 minutes I put in there for a whole plate. My overhead's going to be different than everyone else's overhead. I have a separate workspace now. My overhead cost is a little bit higher than other people's, but you should at least still include part of your utilities for your home. You should include part of your mortgage for your home or your rent for your home, your website, your subscription fees for your commercial licenses, which you should always be paying for. If you're selling someone's models and someone's designs, the person who designed the model deserves to get paid just as much as you did, because they made the thing that made you make the money. Even though you made the thing, they made the thing. Think about it. Then I incorporate my tax reserve. Like I said, I told you what that was. And then I put a failure buffer in there just because I've got a bin of things that fail. We all 3D print. Nothing's perfect. You wake up some mornings and your whole entire house is full of spaghetti. Spaghetti! So let's just know that there's way more that goes into this than filament. There's way more. There's costs. And I just want people to understand that there are costs, and there's a lot of costs you're not thinking about. And another thing, the way that you price things is, if you ever decide you want to grow your business, you decide you want to start venturing into selling stuff in stores, selling wholesale, selling whatever you want to do, you have to realize that when you're selling an item, like let's say it's something, it costs you $2 to make it. If you were to sell it, let's say your total landed cost was $2 and you wanted to make 50% margin or whatever on that. Like, let's just, here, let me put in here. All right, put a landed cost, $2.32. Let's say you want to sell that at a 50% margin, basically $5. Let's just call it $2.50. So you want to sell this thing, 50% margin, you want to sell it for $5. You make it for $2.50, you sell it for $2.50, you make $2.50 off of it. Boom. You gave yourself no room to ever sell that to anyone else and let them resell it as well as as a wholesaler. Because now, if you're selling it for $5, now the retailers could probably going to be selling it for $5 because why would you want to compete with yourself? So now you have to sell it to the retailer so the retailer can make more money, make the money off of it, and retailers are going to want to work at a 40 to 50% margin, which is going to be, they're going to be wanting to buy it for $2.50 if they're going to be selling it for $5. So you're going to have to be able to make it for $1.25, $1.10. But if you're already at a $2.50, you can't do that. But if you sold this item that cost you $2.50, $2.75, and you're selling it for $8 to $10, you could always MSRP it at 10 and you could sell it yourself for 8. Now you're making margin on this when you're selling it for your 8 to 10, leaving yourself room that if you want to sell this to a wholesale or a retailer, you now can sell it to them for $5, make your $2.50 that you were super excited about originally, and then they bought it for $5, and now they're going to resell it for $10. Why fight with yourself? There's no reason to. Just price it as if you're a retailer. You are the creator. You're making items. You're the manufacturer. 3D printing it's the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing ever because when I go to the store, I don't look at something and I don't go and buy a toy for my son and look at the packaging and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just bought this Bluey thing. I bought this toy or this whatever it is. I don't look at it and go, holy, it says it's injection molded. Or it doesn't say injection molded toy. But for some reason, everything says 3D printed toy. It's just a manufacturing process in which something is made. So whether it was injection molded, it was 3D printed, it was, made from meteors smashing into the earth. It's all whatever the process is it was in which it was made. It's just the manufacturing process. It's really, that's it. You don't have to be like, I make a 3D printed toy. It's like, no, you make a toy, you make a decor, you make a wall lamp, you make a light, you make a little fidget thing. You make parts. I do prototyping as well for companies, and I do testing and stuff too. And it's like, you can make a strong 3D print. Like, here, hold on. Let's take a walk over here. So let's look at here's the bin of stuff that I make. This is a demonstration that I do, at every one of my events. And I do this, I don't know, maybe 75 times. 75 times a day. Let me see if I can do this. So, this is a Flexi Dachshund. This model was created by Snapprint 3D. I added a few more links in it because I thought it was funny looking at how long it is. And I printed this in Polymaker PLA Pro Brown. I've tested a lot of different materials and I tested a lot of different settings, but this is something that I do and I show every single person. See this? They'll be like, oh, this is a 3D print. It's weak. It's cheap. It's 3D printed. It's garbage. So I take it and I whip it onto the table. I just smashed that harder than I think any kid's going to hit it. But let's do it. I don't know how many more times you want me to hit that into the table, but it's still not broken. The little tip on the tail's not broken. The head's not broken. That just hurt my hand more than it hurt this. If you make a strong product, you're gonna be able to sell something that that you feel comfortable selling, because this is still fine. Now, let's see what happens. I've got some parts over here that I printed with Amazon settings using Amazon filament. Let's pull one of these out. It's shiny. This is what I hate. I hate silk filaments. This was printed with the same settings that I got. I opened up a dragon that I bought off Amazon for $3. It had 2 walls and lightning infill, and it was printed in a nice, shiny, fancy silk material. So let's see what happens when I hit this on the table. The tail just frickin' exploded. Watch this. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna pull this. I just ripped that in half. There's a huge difference. Stuff is flying around the shop right now because it's garbage, and you can print good things. So make sure that you're using strong materials. Make sure you're demonstrating this stuff to people at your booths. Just be a salesman. Don't sell this garbage. Make sure that your costs reflect that you're not selling this garbage. And let's I don't know. Like, we need to figure out how to stop this. But I think I totally got off track. Not even sure what I was even talking about anymore. But go to sliceprice3d.com. I've got a calculator. I've got product inventory that you can add straight from your calculator. It shows you your wholesale pricing, your different profit margins that you can use. You can keep track of sales. You can keep track of business expenses. You can keep track of all your vendor events. You can keep track of like how much you're spending on vendor events, the mileage you're taking to your events. Every single cost that can be associated with your business will be associated in this tracker and on this website. I use it for literally every part of my business. I built it for myself. It's free. I don't make a penny off this. I made it for myself, and I put it out there and made it because if other people need it and they want to use it, they can. I have no care if they're using it, and if you decide you don't like it and you don't want to use it, then don't. And there's a lot of people who have been giving me some really good suggestions on things to change, to update. We now can make it so your calendar syncs. You can sync it right with your iPhone or your Google Calendar. You can keep track of your filament. If you have stuff in different stores, you can keep track of your consignment shops. You can keep track of your wholesale orders. You can make new wholesale catalogs. You can actually like make a full catalog is something I'm working on right now. You can make quotes. You have a checkout system. I can't run credit cards through it, but the checkout system, you can, if you have like a Square Reader or you have any of that stuff, you can keep track of what you're selling, so it can keep track of all your product inventory. You can keep track of the printers that you own so that you can have a running tally of how much money you have in printers. You can keep a maintenance schedule on your printers using this. There's dashboards, a dashboard that if you link it up right, you can see what your printers are running. You can look at the value of your inventory, your average margin you're making, how much filament you have in stock. If you want, I made it there, you can really get deep down into this. You can make a queue for every part. You're like looking and you're doing your inventory and you're like, hey, I only have 7 doodads. I'm supposed to have 25. Boom, add it to the queue. It'll make a full list of what you need to print, when you need to print it. I have an expense tracker, like I mentioned, which you can, one cool thing on this is with the expense tracker, you can take a screenshot right from if you bought it from Amazon, Bamboo, wherever you're doing it, and it uses like a little bit of machine learning AI stuff, and it'll separate it all out and build your expense tracking for you. The vendor event thing, I made it so that you can pre-build your like booth, so you can be like, I'm in a 10 by 10, and you can put in, I have an 8-foot table, a 6-foot table, whatever you have, and you can kind of pre-plan how you're going to be depending on where you're going to be set up at different events. I have follow-up reminders, so if you have events that you think like, hey, this might be a good event, you can have a little thing in there that you can write like, hey, I emailed this person on this date and I didn't hear back, and it'll pop up and say, hey, it's been 10 days since you talked to them. You might want to send them another email. There's just so many things in here that, I mean, some of them I feel like I use so often that I don't even think about it anymore. But check it out. It's free. If you use it, awesome. The only time I'm ever going to charge for this is if I get so many users that it costs me money to use it. And then all I'm going to do is charge once it gets to whatever that threshold is. Let's say it's 800 people. The first whatever people that it didn't cost me anything for, they'll stay free. And I'll just have to start charging for the people on top of it. But that's only if it costs me money. I'm not trying to make money off of people who are trying to make money right now. That's not my deal. Unless you want to support, I do have a support thing, a donate button. Totally up to you. I don't care. But yeah, we did a bit of a journey there as far as pricing and going and making stuff strong and how you work at events. I'm just going to talk every night, and then we're going to clip this thing out. We're going to clip it down, turn it into whatever, and this is me. Let's have fun. Welcome to Radditive Prints.